coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
It's a really interesting way to take $100,000 and turn it into $700,000 to pay for potential long-term care. You can transfer risk to an insurance company. You can transfer all the risk, some of the risk, whatever you want to do. Now, insurance companies give you 3 ways you can transfer risk.
I mean, you can't avoid the cost, but the big thing is just coming down to creating a plan, right? I mean, you want to make sure that no matter what, that you've got some type of plan in place to prepare for that.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. This week, we're talking about something I know you don't want to talk about, but we have to because we're adults and we actually have to pay attention to things. And that is, of course, long-term care. Now, don't worry though. I'm going to share some ideas about long-term care that I'll bet you've never heard. So this is going to be really helpful to you. And I'm going to make this as painful, pain-free as possible, not painful. But at the same time, let's have a little fun with it and let's have an enjoyable time. So first, long-term care. Just shudders. I mean, you know, when I think about long-term care, you know, I think about my grandmothers. You know, both my grandmothers, they died in nursing homes, broken on Medicaid. They had Alzheimer's. You know, I remember they had Alzheimer's. They were in nursing homes for like 5 years plus. I'll bet you know someone like me who ended up in a nursing home passing away. I'll bet you also know someone who pretty much lost their life savings because of a long-term care incident. Well, we don't want that to happen to you, and I think it's important that as adults, we'd say, okay, we're doing retirement planning. We have to look at this. It's part of retirement planning. It's not a part we necessarily want to talk about, but we need to. You know, we need to look at it. And by the way, has your advisor brought this up to you? I mean, has your advisor helped you sit down when you do retirement plan and say, all right, how are we going to address long-term care? How are we going to deal with this? Because long-term care, it's not necessarily a nursing home. In fact, remember, most long-term care, it doesn't happen in a nursing home. You know where it happens? At home. Heck, my wife's parents right now, they're dealing with, you know, caring for one of them at home. One is helping the other. And obviously, I don't want to go into detail because that's private, but just be aware as we get older, our bodies break down and, you know, we need help. So most care is actually delivered at home, right? At home, not in a nursing home. But it's not free. Nothing is free. So let's talk a little bit about what are the odds of needing care, right? So if you're doing a retirement plan, you know the odds that you're going to die are 100%. We all die someday. What about the odds of needing care? Well, that really depends on the study. You know, I've seen studies that say, well, you've got about a 40% chance that someday, before you die, you'll need care of some type. I've seen studies that say 70%. You know, if we're honest with each other, I don't think anybody knows what the odds really are. Because it's always changing. You know, the things that used to kill us, we're living through. Doctors are good at keeping us alive. The reality is, somewhere in that 40 to 70% is probably realistic. Who knows what the real number is? But I'll tell you what we do know. We do know what it costs. We do know what it costs. Do you know that here in Michigan, today, it can often cost over $100,000 a year if you're in a nursing home. And if you're at home and you hire someone to come help out, home care, heck, that could be $35,000, $40,000 a year, right? Both are not cheap numbers. Those are both real numbers. I mean, imagine suddenly coming up with $35,000, $40,000 a year extra out of your pocket. Or, God forbid, you end up in a nursing home. Imagine coming up with over $100,000 a year out of your pocket. How long are your savings going to last? But here's the deal. Those are the good numbers. Those are the good numbers. Because think about it this way. When are you going to need care? Do you think you're going to need care today? Heck, if you're in your 60s, you know when you're going to need care? Probably when you're in your 80s, like 20 years from now. What's it going to cost then? Well, if it costs over $100,000 today, you know what it's going to cost then? Very likely it's going to cost over a couple $100,000 a year. What if you're like my grandmothers and you get Alzheimer's and you end up in a nursing home with Alzheimer's for 5 years or longer? And they're costing, they're taking out, you're paying them a couple $100,000 a year or more. Do you see how easy it is to blow through $1 million? It's unbelievable how fast this stuff happens. I don't want you to be that person. I want you to be at least better protected. I want you to actually evaluate your options and, hey, maybe you do nothing about it. But as an adult, you got to at least look at it, right? We're going to look at your options on this show. And by the way, I don't want you going anywhere because coming up next, I'm going to show you how you could take $100,000 and turn it into $700,000 of long-term care benefit. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The new Trump tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands on your IRA. Learn how to take advantage of the new law at a dinner evening with your Retiring Well TV hosts from Centennial Wealth Advisory. This is a no-cost, information-only, no-pressure event with a fine dining experience you won't soon forget. Important topics we'll discuss are 3 ways to use the new tax code to move money into tax-free accounts at reduced rates, hidden tax-related pitfalls that most advisors are missing, the importance of managing risk, and the effect of volatility on your retirement savings. The #1 mistake most Americans are making with their retirement accounts. Are you one of them? And much more. Dinner is on us, and there is absolutely no obligation. Call 888-608-5825 to register Thursday, March 15th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important presentation and learn how the new tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn. Thanks for being here, Larry.
Thank you, Mike.
He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And folks, as you may know by now, we certainly invite you to come visit with us. It's absolutely free to get a second opinion on your retirement planning. And I think it's important to get a second opinion from someone who's a specialist when it comes to retirement planning. And Larry, I'm sure they're wondering, if they pick up the phone and they call and come visit with you, what can they expect? What's that experience like?
Well, Mike, they can expect not to get hard sold, okay? We're going to greet them warmly. We're going to sit down and talk to them a little bit about maybe their story, where they're from, where they grew up, how they met their spouse, what they're dreaming of doing once they get soon to be retired or retired.
Kind of what are their goals, right?
Yeah, what are your goals? We're going to talk to them a little bit about who we are, what we do, show them how we do things, especially dealing in the market realities we find ourselves in today.
Got it. So essentially, they're coming in, you're learning a little bit about what's important to them, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure you're taking a look at what they're doing so far. You maybe share a little bit about you, and it's just in a very relaxed atmosphere.
That's right.
And there's no cost to do this. Is that correct?
No cost. No cost.
All right. So, folks, there you go. I mean, it sounds very simple, very easy, very laid back. There's no reason for you not to just pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, come visit us, get that second opinion. You'd be glad that you did.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The 3 big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, March 14th and March 21st at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Hi, this week in Chalk Talk, we have got something I'm guessing you've not seen before, and if you have, great, but I bet most of you have not seen something like this. It's a really interesting way to take $100,000 and turn it into $700,000 to pay for potential long-term care. So let's go ahead and talk about how this works. So here we go. I have up here, as you can see, $100,000. And let's imagine we put it into this contract that at the beginning says you get around $400,000 of long-term care benefit. Now, by the way, I should preface my entire conversation with this. I'm assuming that we're talking about someone who's about somewhere in their early 60s, 60 to 65 years old, somewhere in there. And there are, and what we're talking about here is technically a life insurance contract that has long-term care benefits attached to it. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So here we go. We take, here you're 60 to 65 years old, you're reasonably insurable. We take $100,000, we dump it into this single pay life insurance contract, and right away from the get-go, you're getting about $400,000 of long-term care benefit. Something along those lines. Please understand that if you call us up and you say, hey, I want to talk to you guys about this, I want to see what the numbers are for me, that might be a little bit different for you depending on your age, insurability, blah, 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 right? Male, female, etc. Anyway, general rule, this is how it works. You start off, $100,000 goes in. The insurance company says, okay, if you need long-term care, like right away, we're going to pay out a total of about $400,000 in care over maybe a 6-year period of time, something like that. But we recognize that you may not need long-term care today. In fact, you're only in your early 60s. If you can qualify for this insurance, you probably don't need long-term care. Well, not probably, you definitely don't need long-term care right now. And we recognize you're probably reasonably healthy, and it's probably going to be about 20 years or so before you need long-term care. And so what these companies will do is they'll say, you know what we're going to do? Each year that goes by where you do not use this account for long-term care, we're going to increase that $400K by maybe 3% a year compounded, maybe something like that. So that $400K after 1 year is now you've got 412, and the next year it's more, and it grows and it grows and it grows. And if you do the math, let's say, here now you're like 85, right? Now you're age 85. And you're saying, all right, I'm 85 years old and now I need care. I've got Alzheimer's or something. Well, guess what? This bucket of money that was $400,000 way back when you were in your 60s, well, it's now 20 years later, 22 years later, this thing is probably worth somewhere in the range of $700,000 that you can use for your care. That's a big chunk of money that you can use to pay for your care. Now again, it's got to be paid out maybe over 6 years. So they're saying, okay, well, you can get like, what is that, 120 a year or 116 a year or something like that. That's a pretty neat thing. That's a big number. If you need care, that's a lot of money it'll pay out. And they'll pay it. It doesn't matter if you're in a nursing home, if you're at home, it doesn't matter where you are. They'll pay it out. That's a cool thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, that is pretty cool. But what if you never need long-term care? What if you're saying, that was a sweet deal, but Mike, I ended up never needing care before I died. Is that money all gone when I die? Well, that's the best part. This is single pay life insurance, which means that when you made a single payment of $100,000 there's a death benefit that comes along for the ride. Now, by the way, guess what? It's not a big death benefit. It might be the death benefit coming back out. If you don't need care, the death benefit might be $120K. It might not be a real big number. Essentially, it's, hey, I got the same return I would have gotten if I'd left my money in the bank all those years, right? But it comes back to you tax-free if you don't need it. The long-term care benefit's tax-free if you do need it. So it's a great way to expand your assets if you need it for long-term care, but if you don't, get your money back, and it's tax-free with a little bit of gain. Kind of a neat idea. Don't know if you've ever seen it, but it might be worth checking out.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, March 14th and March 21st at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Welcome back. So we just saw a really neat way to take $100,000 and turn it into $700,000 of long-term care benefit. That's kind of cool. I bet you haven't seen that one before. Well, now what we want to do is we want to maybe dive a little deeper and just say, look, there's 3 ways that you can handle long-term care expenses if they should come up in the future. So let's go ahead and hit those 3 ways so that at least you know what your options are. All right, you ready? Number 1, called self-insurance. You pay for it yourself. After all, you may be sitting there saying, okay, I know the odds that I die are 1 out of 1, 100%. But the odds that you need long-term care are something less than that. This may never happen. You may never need care of any type. Maybe your family history is such that no one in your family has ever needed any type of long-term care. Maybe you think you're like that and you believe you're comfortable about that. Or, and this is another thing that we see, maybe you have saved well over $1 million for your retirement. You're sitting on $2-3 million or more for your retirement. By the way, if that's you, you can always adopt me. Haha, it's my joke of the day. But the reality is, when you're sitting on larger amounts of money like that, certainly you have the capacity to self-insure, meaning you can ignore any other way of doing this because you've got enough money, or you should have enough money, that if the time ever comes when you need care, you got enough money that you're sitting on, you'll be able to pay for it. It'll be okay, right? It'll be okay. So that's number 1, self-insuring. What's number 2? Number 2, well, we looked at an example just a few minutes ago, and that is you can transfer risk to an insurance company. You can transfer all the risk, some of the risk, whatever you want to do. Now, insurance companies give you 3 ways you can transfer risk. Okay, first, long-term care insurance, just traditional long-term care insurance. It's still out there. Now, by the way, good luck qualifying for it these days, because I'm telling you right now, most insurance companies, they don't want to be in that business. In fact, they would prefer to be out of that business because they have learned that traditional long-term care insurance, it's like car insurance. You're paying a premium for a benefit, but if you never use it, you lose it. That type of coverage, insurance companies have learned that they just can't seem to collect enough in premium to pay for the expenses that they're paying out. In other words, they're losing money. And I don't know about you, but I've learned that insurance companies, they don't like losing money very long, and they quickly act not to lose money, right? So they're really good at that. So they're getting out of that business. That's going away. Second, way insurance companies help with long-term care are annuities with long-term care insurance riders. There are annuities out there where they have some additional benefit that you can use in the event that you need long-term care. Whether you need care in a nursing home or maybe assisted living or at home, doesn't matter, but they provide some additional benefit to you in the event that you need long-term care. Now, most of the annuities, the way they work, they only give you a little bit of benefit in the early years of owning that account. The longer you hold it, the bigger the benefit. And then the third way insurance companies help you transfer risk. We just looked at it in our last segment on Chalk Talk, and that is using life insurance plans with long-term care riders. Now, I will tell you, this is where we're seeing all the growth when it comes to long-term care planning. People really like the idea of having a known benefit, and they know, hey, if I need care down the road, you get paid for it. But if you never need care, then that money that you paid in goes back to your family, plus some. So life insurance is the third way, probably the most popular these days. All right, so we covered self-pay, we covered transferring risk. What's the third way to take care of long-term care? Called Medicaid planning. Medicaid planning is basically where you make the state, the welfare department, think you're broke. In other words, you structure your assets in such a way that they're not counted when it comes for long-term care. Now, this way you get the state to pay for your care, you're essentially on welfare. That's great that someone else pays for it. The problem is they only pay for a nursing home. So you will be in a nursing home in a semi-private room. So there you go, 3 different ways you can address long-term care needs. Again, you need to visit with an advisor to make sure that you've got the right one or the right mix so that you're planning in an intelligent way for your retirement.
The new Trump tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands on your IRA. Learn how to take advantage of the new law at a dinner evening with your Retiring Well TV hosts from Centennial Wealth Advisory. This is a no-cost, information-only, no-pressure event with a fine dining experience you won't soon forget. Important topics we'll discuss are 3 ways to use the new tax code to move money into tax-free accounts at reduced rates, hidden tax-related pitfalls that most advisors are missing, the importance of managing risk and the effect of volatility on your retirement savings, the #1 mistake most Americans are making with their retirement accounts. Are you one of them? And much more. Dinner is on us, and there is absolutely no obligation. Call 888-608-5825 to register Thursday, March 15th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important presentation and learn how the new tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi there, thanks for joining with us again today. I'm here with John Torbett. My name is Art Canfield. We're two of the financial advisors here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And today, we're going to continue this conversation about long-term care. Obviously, it's a hot topic, if you will. One of those things that, almost everybody has probably had some experience with, whether it's loved ones that are in nursing homes or they hear of the rising costs of health care and all that. Today, we're going to kind of dive in and talk about what does that look like? What does that look like, or what should you be doing to plan, protect, or whatever it may be for you?
Yeah, and I think of, the baby boomer population is getting closer and closer to that stage, and that's a significant portion of our country. And so you're going to continue to see probably the costs be there. You can't avoid the cost, but the big thing is just coming down to creating a plan, right? You want to make sure that no matter what, that you've got some type of plan in place to prepare for that.
Right. And the tough thing, I think, for so many people, and even obviously to plan for it, let's be honest, this is one thing that you don't know if you're going to need. You know, you could pass away in your sleep. You could end up in a nursing home for 5+ years. You know, and the cost difference is exorbitant. It's huge.
Right, and I mean, you typically see, or we see, you know, if it's you've got significant assets, then you may say, okay, I'm just going to self-insure. Ultimately, just setting that money aside, knowing, okay, if something major happens, that's what that money is there for. But there's also plenty of other options as well out there when you're planning.
Right. So I mean, you have a lot of people for what kind of we refer to as traditional long-term care insurance. Simply use it or lose it. It's like car insurance, right? If you don't get an accident, you don't use it. But it's something where you pay a premium, whether it's monthly, quarterly, yearly, and then there's going to be some sort of set payout for your care, right?
The big challenge that we've been seeing in our office is for some of those folks that may have set those up 10 years ago or so, is that the premium costs are continuing to go up and up and up, and it's almost getting to a place where they're forced to reduce their benefits in order to continue to pay a fairly level amount.
So kind of like the level of inflation is not going up as fast as the cost of living in a home sort of situation.
So we've seen also then become more popular is this whole life insurance strategy. Over the last several years, a lot of insurance companies have come out with strategies where, okay, it's got this life insurance death benefit factor, but if you need it for long-term care, you can basically draw from that death benefit early. So at least with that, if you're paying those premiums into the policy, that then if you pass away, then at least they get the tax-free death benefit.
Sure, a little bit morbid, but at least somebody's getting the benefit where, unlike the other situation, you could pay in thousands of dollars of premium and never use any of it, right?
Right, exactly. And that's where it's just unbelievable. I mean, the costs of it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and so that's where it's vital to be saving all throughout your working years, unfortunately, but to be setting aside enough to be prepared for whatever that may
right. And I think it's important. One thing you said I want to stress again is to have a plan. You know, there may be not one answer for an individual. It may be a combination, it may be nothing, but the importance is having a plan of what are you going to do if that happens, if you're married to you or your spouse. There's other planning tools that we don't even have time to get into that are whole nother subjects that people may or may not have heard of too. But, you know, it's really something that somebody needs to be looking at and, like everything, reviewing, right? I mean, there's a changing environment in the health care world that, you know, new laws and stuff are happening all the time that will affect this, and also financially.
Yeah, and I think of just this past year, there's been several clients that I've talked to that have those traditional long-term care policies, and we've had to jump on the phone with the insurance companies to see, hey, what options do we have? And the big surprise is that there are options available, so it's a matter of communicating with them.
Great. Well, if this is something that importance to you, or it strikes something that sounds like it might be something you haven't touched on yet, please give us a call. This is really important for you and your longevity to really have a good, solid plan for your family. Give a call to the number on the screen. We look forward to talking to you soon.